Hey guys, so today's video is going to be my m.a.c Cosmetics interview experience from once I applied until now that I've been offered the job. So basically all the way through everything I went through and everything I experienced, as well as a little kind of tips and my recommendations to people who are planning to or would like to in the future sometime apply for m.a.c Cosmetics. If you're wondering what I have on my lips, I got my Riri Woo. I'm gonna start off with my application process. So when I applied, I actually applied once in, I believe, November or December. And I went in there thinking, you know, all right, let me get my application. I got it. And I went home and filled it out. And then the next day I came in, I had, you know, big makeup on, looking really nice. I had on all black clothing, and this was just to drop off the application. And when I have done this in the past, like applied to a certain place, generally I dropped off the application and they said, okay, well, you know, we'll call you to let you know if we're interested in an interview. So that's what I was thinking was gonna happen. So I went in, gave them my application, and I gave it to the store manager. And the first thing she says is, why do you wanna work at m.a.c? And I was just like, oh God, I'm not ready. I was not ready to actually get a question, like an interview type question asked, like right when I handed it to her. I was not expecting that. So I definitely got real nervous, read, fumbled up my words. I didn't say anything that you should have said. Like it was just like terrible. And she was just, I answered, and then she was just like, okay, we'll call you to, if you, we are interested, and thank you so much for coming. And that was it. And I was like, that was just so bad. Like I was so upset with myself. So, you know, I left and I didn't get called back for like 2 months or whatever. So 4 or 5 months later, I applied in March. I believe it was the beginning of March, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was the beginning of March. I came in one day just to buy something. And, you know, the assistant manager was there along with a associate at the store. And I said, you know, I just got off of work, so I was in all black, my makeup was all done up all crazy, and, you know, I was just like, yeah, you know, I want to get this, and blah, blah, blah. And the one guy that was talking to me, he was like, oh, have you ever worked for us or whatever? And I was just like, no, I wanted to, but, you know, I gave my application, no one ever called me. And he was like, oh, well, we're actually hiring right now. And I was just like, no way. And he said, yeah, so why don't we get you an application? I was like, yes. So I went up to the assistant manager, was like, yeah, I wanted to get an application. And she was like, oh yeah, for sure. So she gave me the application, and she said, you know, just come back, drop it off to me. And that was that. And I was like, okay. So again, got home, fill it all out, did it all up the next day, went in, and I was prepared that time for any questions. And so I came in and I gave the application to the assistant manager, and she's like, oh, great, I'm so glad, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then she says, so let's set up an interview date for your first interview with a store manager. She's like, she's on vacation right now, but she'll be back in a couple days, and we can set up your interview. I was like, okay. So she set up my interview for the next week on a Thursday, and I was just like, yes, I'm so excited. And so, you know, days leading up to that, I was all gung-ho excited about it. I made sure I did a lot of research on m.a.c, their brand, everything about it. I'm already, you know, an avid m.a.c user, as you guys know, but, you know, more of like the background on, you know, their history and things like that, and all that jazz. So I did all that, and then it was Thursday. I came in for my interview. And so the interview was with the store manager. We went in the back room. So basically she asked me, okay, first of all, biggie, why do you want to work for m.a.c? She asked me how I heard about the job. She asked me the history about the store, not the store, the history about the company, and, you know, what I knew about m.a.c, what I knew about their different programs they do. So that's like, you know, Viva Glam and that kind of thing. And then it was kind of the typical interview questions. Where you work now, like how has that helped you, and how do you think that experience will help you for working here? It was stuff like, if this situation happens at your work, what would you do about it? She asked me things about colors, like what's the opposite color on the color wheel of red? Green. So know that stuff too. She asked me what's the difference between warm and cool according to m.a.c standards. She asked me things like, if your coworker was mad at you, how would you handle that situation? Now, I think the good thing for her, she's a really good manager in terms of like how she interviews, to where like I would have this awesome answer thought in my head, and she would ask me something like that, like, if this happened between you and a coworker, how would you handle it? And I would give a really good answer that I thought worked. And then she says, okay, well, if that didn't work out, then what would you do? And I was just like, and so she's really good, but you gotta make sure, I think number one is exuding real confidence all the time when you're talking to them, because I think at m.a.c for sure, it's all about someone who's super confident, driven, not only good at makeup. That's like very small part, to be completely honest. Obviously it's a bigger part than most other cosmetic companies, but it still is a small part. You need to be confident in terms of like being able to sell your butt off. Like if you're not confident, then when a customer comes in, they're not gonna kind of vibe with you. I always find that when you have lots of confidence, customers really trust your opinion because you're very, confident about the product. So being confident is really important. So that was that. She said, okay, well, thank you so much for coming in, and we'll get back to you. So then like 2 weeks later, I still didn't get a call back or anything. And I was just like, ugh. And, I was just waiting and waiting. And then one day I got a call from a woman who was a recruiting manager for m.a.c. And she said, hi, the store manager forwarded me your resume, and we're having a job fair on this and this date. Which was about a week from that call I got from her. She says, so I'd really like you to come in and interview again with me and some other ladies. And I said, okay. So the day of the job interview came, which was about a week after I got that call. And I came in, it was at a Dillard's, and I came in early. I was 15 minutes early. It started at 10 and it ran till like 6. I was there at 9:45. And I actually came in right when the store manager was coming in of the freestanding store. And so, I came in, they gave me a little clipboard with another application. I filled out so many of those applications. It's killing me. So I had to fill out another application. So I filled out my application, and then I saw people starting to come in. Now, a lot of the people I noticed coming in, it was like a lot of younger girls. And from what I could hear from their conversations, a lot of them had never worked in cosmetics. Some of them said they were waiters, waitresses, talking about different things. And it seemed like a lot of them were a little younger and kind of less experienced. So I wasn't sure how they do. I mean, I don't know. But so, I was the first one to be called in, and how they did their interview was, it was me and the recruiting manager. There was another manager from the company. I'm not sure what exactly role she was in the company, but she was in the corporate aspect of the company. And then there was the store manager, the freestanding store in the area. And they had me come in first, and I interviewed the recruiting manager, and then they had a girl come in with the other manager, and then another girl come in with the other manager. So there were 3 interviews going on at one time in the same room, but it wasn't like three managers just for me. You know what I mean? You still got, person to person kind of interview. So this lady, asked me the same kind of questions, and answered them to the best of my abilities. But she did ask me more management questions. She asked me if I had ever managed anything before, if I had ever been in a management role before, leadership roles. So I told her all my management experience, and we vibed really well, me and this recruiting manager. She was so absolutely nice, and and I didn't feel, like scared. Like, I know a lot of people coming into a m.a.c interview, they're like scared because it's m.a.c, you know what I mean? And it's a big deal for a lot of people. So there can be lot of nerves when you're going into this kind of interview, but she made it very comfortable for me. And I did extremely well, I'm sure of that. And so she said, okay, well, I really enjoyed you and everything. And she says, I want you to come in for the makeup interview. So she gave me a little paper talking all about the makeup interview. And she said, we'll call you to schedule that. And I said, okay. So I left the interview feeling really great. And like a week passed, and again, it was like a whole week, and I didn't hear anything. And I was just like, gosh, it was so frustrating and like nerve-wracking. And I finally got a call from the store manager saying, hey, we want you to come in the makeup interview tomorrow. And I was just like, yes, obviously I said yes. But then I was like, gosh, I have no model. So I kept calling people because all the people I had lined up to do it with me were working. But I finally found someone, Josie. Hi, Josie. She's amazing. Josie came in last minute. I really appreciate that. And I think something I'd recommend for you guys if you're trying to find a model for your makeup interview is get someone who is really confident, enthusiastic. Like Josie's so funny, and we just vibed so well because she's really like confident and perky. And you can't have someone coming in who's just gonna be like nervous, and just like not say anything and just be like, as you're like doing the makeup, they're just like, you need to have someone who's really going to talk to you because you have to role play and pretend they're a customer, or pretend you're working for MAC, and all that jazz. So make sure they have confidence, whoever you're choosing. I went in for the makeup interview the next day, and I was really nervous, but it's okay. I made sure I got there really early, of course, and I just kind of waited in my car until we had to go in. So we went in and met with the manager and everybody. The assistant manager was there at that point, and the store manager wasn't coming in until a little later, or like an hour later, or something like that. I don't know, half hour or something. So the assistant manager kind of started me on my interview. So with my interview, how it went for my makeup interview was, I had an infinite amount of time to find products. Like I went in there, I was really laid back. They're really funny. They're not those, people you hear about a lot on these videos where they're like stern and they're like, you need to do this, and then they're like all on you and like crazy. These ladies were really, really like just laid back, made you feel comfortable. So she told me my scenario. She said, you have a woman who's coming in who wants a everyday makeup look, and then, you're going to switch it up, and she wants you to change it into a night look that she can wear. I think she said she can wear to a wedding, but it's at night. So she wants it a little darker, but she still wants it to look like classy, but a little more edgy, if that makes sense. So that's what she said she wanted me to do. So I was like, okay. So she said, okay, now you can go get your products. And I was like, okay, how much time do I have? She was like, don't worry about it. Just go get what you got to get, and we'll start whenever you're ready. So that was really nice. So I got all my products together. I can't remember what I used. So I did the day look, and a couple things to remember is they're very big on sanitation. So if you're not familiar with cosmetic sanitation already, basically you need to spray everything with hygienic spray before you start using anything. If you're using something, spray it, wipe it off, then use it. Everything, no matter what. Powders, take a tissue and wipe off the top layer first, then use it, then wipe off the top layer again. Everything has to be on a tissue at MAC. I didn't know this, and when I started, I didn't have it like that because it's not like that at Lancome or Lauder. But the assistant manager said to me, hey, she said, just heads up before the manager gets here, everything has to be on a tissue. So make sure everything you're using is on a tissue. Brushes, compacts, even if it's not something that the product couldn't touch the actual table, like a lipstick, the bottom of it, the thing won't touch the table, it doesn't matter. Put it on a tissue. And also, which I didn't know, make sure your products are grouped by like products. So on your tissues, maybe you have like 4 tissues, 1 for brushes, 1 for face products, 1 for eyes, 1 for lips, because that helps as well. So I had my stuff on tissues. I'm sanitizing, and then I go in with my makeup look, making sure that I'm talking to her, pretending, telling her about the products I'm using on her, having conversation and everything. And I finally got done with my daytime look. She loved it. She loved everything about it. There was no complaints, which I was really excited about. So then she says, okay, now we'll do the nighttime look and we'll switch it up. She was like, okay, so your lady who's going to her wedding is wearing a red dress, so make sure it looks nice for a red dress. And then my model speaks up and she's like, oh, well, I'm actually going to a Taylor Swift concert in a couple days and I'm wearing a red dress. That's so funny. I mean, whatever. So maybe I'll actually do this makeup for them. And then the manager was like, oh, well, I actually like that idea. So instead of, going to a wedding, you have your client here who did your day look, and now she wants to change it because she's going to a Taylor Swift concert and she's wearing a red dress. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love you, Josie. Like, that was perfect because now I know exactly what to do. So what I did was I added a little bit of a darker brown on her eye look. I gave her a winged eyeliner, which she didn't have earlier. And I did a little more contour, and then I gave her a red lip like this. I used cherry lip liner and Ruby Woo, I think. So I went through and did that, and they gave me like a half hour for the daytime look, and then they gave me like 15 minutes to change it into a nighttime look. So I did that, and then her only critiques were that I could have talked to her more like about her life. She says, because I talked a lot about the products and exactly what I was doing with every single product and what it was made for and what it was exactly and everything. So she said, when I actually do it on someone in person, she says, I need to talk more about their life and get to know them more. But I know that, and she was just like, I understand it's an interview, so you're looking to talk about the product. So that really was what it is. Because, I mean, when I'm with a person in the store, I'm asking them about their life, and I'm telling them I had a bad day the other day, and blah, 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 that's how I am. But anyways, so that was the one critique. And the other critique was that I didn't add false eyelashes. And I was just like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't realize I could have like damaged out one of their eyelashes they sell to people to use on her. So I didn't realize that. But if I did, I totally would have. But yeah, so those were my critiques. But she was really impressed with everything. Blah, 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 blah. So then that was done. And, we left, and I waited and waited again for like a week or so, I think. And then she called me. And she says, okay, so we want to offer you the part-time position. And, I was coming into this thinking, oh my gosh, if I could even get a freelance, that'd be crazy, And she says, we're going to offer you the part-time position in the store, which is a permanent position. And I was just like, yes. And, she went through all this blah, 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 blah. And then she says, okay, we want you to come in on this day to fill out your paperwork. And that was almost a week after the day she called me. So I was like, okay. So I then get a call. It was supposed to be on a Tuesday. I get a call on a Monday. And they say, hey, well, we haven't got everything back from corporate yet. So we're going to have to wait for your paperwork. And I was just like, okay. So then I waited until like maybe Friday, I think it was. And I got another call from the store manager who says, hey, since we're going to be hiring outside of the company for a permanent position, we want you to talk to our MRO, which is kind of like if there's the store manager above her is, I think, the MRO, something like that. She's kind of the person who looks over all the stores in like a state or so. So I was like, oh, okay. And I was really nervous about it. So I was like, okay. So that was supposed to be the next Wednesday. I was going to interview with her. I said, okay. And it was going to be a phone interview. So on Wednesday, I call this lady and we phone interview. And I noticed that she asked me a lot of questions about management and if I had ever managed anywhere before. And I told her again my leadership experience. And she was like, okay. She says, now we have a full-time position that just opened up recently. We can't promise you anything because obviously, it's a long process. m.a.c likes to hire from within. So generally for those positions, they'd give it to someone who had already been working at the store. So she said, but we're gonna put your name in there and we'll see what happens. And I waited probably another week and a half before I got another call. And I got a call from the store manager again. And she says, okay, so we want you to come in for an interview if you are off today. And I was just like, oh my God, it just so happens that I'm off today. So I went in again for the interview, another interview. And it was with her and the assistant manager. And she says, okay, so we are going to interview today for the full-time third key position, which is a management position. There's only a couple full-time people, and the full-time people are the managers. So there's 2 third keys, the assistant manager and the manager. So she says, we're going to be interviewing you for this position. So I had another hour-long interview, and these were all management-based questions about, how I have handled situations in the past, about different situations that could come up as a manager and how I would handle them. And obviously you must like exude confidence, and you have to be confident that you can fill those shoes to the best of your abilities, because if you don't think you can do it, you better not even try, because you're gonna get fired in like 2 weeks if you can't like step up to the plate and do what you got to do. So, I made that clear. I'm a very confident person. I know how to run things. Watch my sass here. And I know how to manage people. I've had a lot of experience with that. Not necessarily cosmetic, but other experience, like with my cheerleading coaching. I've been coaching for years and years and years. I know how to manage people, especially, a lot of girls. Working with lots of girls at one time, like 20, 30 girls, you learn how to deal with drama, attitudes, managing people. It's crazy. Anyways, so, I went through the interview, answered all the questions to the best of my abilities, and she says, okay, we'll get back to you. Thank you so much for coming in at short notice, blah, 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 blah. That was on a Saturday, and I got a call on Monday, which was 2 days ago, and she told me that they were going to offer me the third key full-time position, the management position. And I was just like, oh my God, yes. Like, I mean, and I went into this thinking, wow, this is like, I don't even know what I'm gonna get, but whatever I get, that'd be totally cool. I was thinking, maybe I'll get a part-time, even part-time. I was like, oh my God, I could be like a part-time person. And I went and filled out my paperwork yesterday, and now it's official, people. So I am the new third key at the store in my area, and it's just like, I'm like so excited. I feel so honored to be given that position, because generally they promote from within, and they generally don't hire someone for a management position outside of the store. So I feel very just like excited. I am so like happy, and I'm just like so grateful to them for like even offering that to me and giving me the opportunity to have that kind of position. So it's really crazy. Obviously everyone's experience is different. I think if you aren't someone who's extremely confident, if you aren't someone who's familiar with the cosmetic world, they probably wouldn't have given you that position coming in. I think I always recommend to people, and I'm glad I did it this way, if you want a really high position in cosmetics, whether that be at a large department store or at somewhere like m.a.c, you need to start small and work up. Like, I started at the smallest store ever, and I worked there for a year. I worked for Lancome at a little bit of a bigger store for a while, and then I worked at Lancome at a very huge department store for a little while now, and that has really helped me in terms of really honing my skills, not only in cosmetic application. Like, that's a given. You need to know how to do that no matter what. It's the other stuff that you need to work on, like the sales. Like, I could sell you like this tissue, and you are going to want it, because I am going to make it sound like the exact thing you're looking for right now in your life. And I have learned that through, where I've worked before. And not only that, it's the whole clienteling thing that I think is such a huge part of cosmetic sales. And I think that's another reason why I was a great candidate for them, because it's something new to bring to the table. m.a.c isn't a clienteling brand. Like, they're kind of more, they're artistry based. So when you go to like a Lancome counter, you can expect that they're going to do the best friend thing, make you feel like they're your best friend. They're going to take your information. They're going to follow up with you. They're going to call to see how you're doing. We're going to call to say thank you for your products, buying your products. We're going to call you when we have events, when we have gifts. We're going to call you just to see what's up, how you doing, how's it going. And that's the kind of great relationships, and that's why people come buy with you as opposed to somewhere else. And that's something I make clear in my interviews. That's something I'm very good at. I'm very good at clienteling people, and that's how you get the good sales. It's because you grow your sales numbers from having people come back to you. So by giving them exceptional customer service every single time, following up, making them feel like you really are thankful for their business, really creates a really creates a great relationship between you and your customers, and that's why they come back to you. That's why I have customers who come to me as opposed to going to a store closer to them, because they like coming to me because they know they're going to get exceptional service and they know they're going to have a great time and that I'm going to follow up with them and that I really care about them. So that's something really important. I think definitely get your feet wet in cosmetics at first with some smaller stores or Ulta or something like that, and then work your way up, and I think you'll be really successful. Don't expect to start out with no sales or cosmetic experience and actually get a job from m.a.c, because they want a little more. They want someone who's a little more experienced, so keep that in mind. So that's all she wrote. That's my whole experience. This is going to be an extremely long video, and I'm so sorry, but I had a very long interview experience, about a whole 2 months it took, which was just crazy, the whole waiting game. But I'm really glad I did it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped you guys. Please leave any other questions you have below. I hope I answered most of your questions, but if not, leave those below. I always do my best to answer as many questions as I can. And yeah, thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.